Hello, my name is Kautsar Ibrahim Hilmi, and this is a presentation of the paper titled Preliminary User Studies on Consumer Perception Towards Blockchain-Based Livestock Traceability Platform in Indonesia, an Implication to Design. The researchers are Auzi Asfarian, Kautsar Ibrahim Hilmi, and Irman Hermadi. Animal products quality and safety are important aspects. However, there are risks in the Indonesian livestock supply chain from the breeder until the livestock product served in the consumer table. Traceability is known as the process of knowing the track record of processing and moving livestock products in all parts of the supply chain. A conventional or traditional information system surely can help the traceability, but the conventional information system is a subject of vulnerability such as trust issues, single point of failure, and double spending. Trust issues are a problem occurs between entities in an information system where each entities can really trust each other. Single point of failure is a failure of a center point or center node in a centralized system where if this central point is failing, then the other node or the other point are also failing. And then double spending. Double spending is a flow in digital scheme where a digital resource can be used or spent more than once. That can happen because a digital resource can be falsified and duplicated. Those vulnerabilities in the conventional information system can be avoided by implementing blockchain. Blockchain is a structure of records which called blocks that are linked like a chain that uses cryptography. There are three keys of research in this research. The first one is what is the consumer's perception towards the livestock traceability system? Next, what supply chain activities should be recorded in the system? And the third and the last is what is the way of delivering the system that people want? The goals of this research are knowing the public perception of livestock traceability and food safety, knowing the details of the livestock supply chain activities that are needed to be recorded in the system, and then generating design implication of the system information. The research are scoped to some extent. The first point of the scope is we were only intent to find out people's perceptions of traceability and food safety. We only want to find out people's perception on the implementation of blockchain in traceability. And then we are going to generate design implication for traceability systems only. We are not going to implement the information system. And then the detailed discussion of data processing are going to be carried out in this research. We use two main steps of methods in this research. The first one is survey and generating questionnaire. We conducted online survey to approach point 1 and point 2 of key of research. The population that we used for the survey is consumers of livestock products in Bogor City and Bogor Regency that age more than 17 years old. And then the sampling method that we use is convenience sampling with the target of the sample size is 100. Questions that are in the questionnaire were adopted and modified from some literatures, mainly from Jelling 2006 and Verbeek 2001. The results of the questionnaire will be processed using statistical method and hierarchical cluster analysis. Such methods are chosen because previous research were using the methods and we intend to do a comparison study with them. Most of the questions were Likert type scale of 6. There are 6 points that are assessed in the survey questionnaire. The first one, or point A, is features that are considered important in livestock product. Point B, knowledge of traceability and concern for food safety. Point C, importance or urgency of traceability. Point D, delivery of traceability systems and responsible entities. Point E, willingness to pay for products with traceable properties. And point F, perception of traceability system with blockchain. And then the second step of the main methods is generating design implication for the system information. What we did in this step are perform survey data processing to find insights, and then looking for information and patterns that are important for system development and in generating design implications. And then the third one is looking for information to answer point 1 and point 2 in the key of research. We are going to the results and discussion. The demographic properties of the respondents are like this. The mean of the respondent age is 21 years old, and then there are 69 people that resides in Bogor Regency and 32 people that resides in Bogor City. And then the minimum education of the respondent is high school, and then more than 50% of respondents are responsible for buying livestock products in their household or their family. Respondents were grouped based on survey points B and point C, which are the knowledge of traceability and the urgency of traceability perception. The group based on hierarchical clustering with Ward's method, and the formula distance is Euclidean distance. And then 3 clusters were formed. The more detailed information of the characteristic of the cluster are like this. Cluster 1 has high knowledge of traceability and product safety. Cluster 2, although the level of knowledge is quite significant, the sense of urgency towards traceability is not too high. And cluster 3, even though the level of knowledge is not that high, its members shows a sense of urgency towards traceability somehow. And this is a Cartesian diagram of point B, of mean of point B in the x-axis and the mean of point C in y-axis in all clusters. Point B assessed the knowledge of traceability, and point C assessed the perception of urgency of traceability. This is cluster 1. It scores high in the x-axis and y-axis, or in B and C point of survey. And this is cluster 2. Cluster 2 score high in the knowledge, or point B, but somehow its sense of urgency towards traceability is not too high. We can see that the cluster 2 is score low in the y-axis or C mean. And then this is the third cluster. The third cluster has a low level of knowledge of traceability, but it scores better than the cluster 2 in sense of urgency towards traceability. We are going to assess the questionnaire by its point. Point A. Variation is measured by the index qualitative variation, and index qualitative variation abbreviation is IQV. IQV range from 0 to 1, and the more the value close to 1, then it means there are high variation. Just for you to remember, point A is used to assess features that are considered important in livestock products. We are going to continue. The features selected in the upper rank tend to be selected in the lower rank in the reference studies. The studies is from Richwick et al. 2008. The top 3 features in this research are expiration date, personal experience of the product, price, BPOM number or certification number, and halal. And in the Richwick top 3 features, there are livestock origin, authenticity, labels or supporting labels, and production method. We can see in the table here that show features that generate mode value for each rank in each cluster. The numbers in parentheses are the index quality value or IQV of the corresponding rank. Next, we are going to discuss point D. Just for you to remember, point D was used to assess the delivery of traceability systems and the responsible entities. Although the level of understanding of information labels is low, respondents' trust in products label is quite high. Government and halal certification information is considered as some important features. Seeing the information directly on the packaging and obtaining the information of traceability via internet are the more preferred delivery way of system in all clusters, except for cluster 3. In the research of Jelling 2006, the preferred delivery way of system is for information to be held by other parties, namely shopkeepers or butchers, and given to the consumer when asked. It's important to be noted that it's contrary to our study. Systems authority holder that the respondent prefer is the government entities in the cluster 1 and 2 and supply chain actors in cluster 3. Most of the references studies show the same thing also. And then we are going to point E. Point E assess the willingness to pay of the product with traceability properties of respondents. Each cluster shows no objection to paying for traceable products, except for cluster 3. In Europe, from the research of Giroud and Holowany, 2006, the response has been less positive. In the European Union, North America, and China, from the research of Hanstein, 2014, the response is positive. Then, we are going to point F. Point F assess the respondent perception of traceability system with blockchain. In all clusters or all respondents, blockchain is considered capable of making traceability systems better. Then, respondents are willing to pay more if blockchain is implemented in the traceability system, except for cluster 2. From the discussion before, we generated 5 design implications. The first one is the implementation of traceability system must consider the consumer understanding of traceability technology. The information presented in the system must conform to user target as each target group have different concern and priority, and then ensure the easiness of system use. And then the government role in the system must be evident to increase public trust to the system, and traceability technology like blockchain can increase consumer perception positively. There are several limitations in this research. And then the first one is, as the sample and experiment is not ideal, the implication for design resulted in this research might not be usable in nationwide context. Thus, we recommend further research related to find deeper cultural information using broader sample and more rigorous user study method. And then for the conclusion, public concern and enthusiasm for traceability is high. Thus, the implementation of blockchain in traceability system may be considered. There are similarities and differences in each clusters on things that are considered important and not important. This research is only preliminary study, thus it's not able to generalize the respondent or the population perfectly. These design implications that we have discussed before can benefit traceability system development, primarily concerning veterinary public health in Indonesia. These are the references that we used in the paper. I think that's all. Thank you and goodbye.